everyone. Welcome to this week's Five Questions with. I've got the amazing and very well-known Kay Pennington with me here today. Hi, Kay.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you for having me.
Many of you will know Kay from her group spa director role at Centre Parks, and now obviously in her new role with her own business, Empower and Resilience, and as ambassador for Image Skincare. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's brilliant to have you here, and I'm just going to go straight in with the first question.
Okay.
What drew you to the spa industry?
Wow. Well, it was actually very easy for me to become part of this industry because I was influenced and surrounded by women from a very young age who wanted to take care of themselves, took pride, and be the best version that they could be. So my grandmother raised me, and yeah, through the involvement of being surrounded by women, I was often opted in for foot massages and yeah, brushing hair and rifling through makeup bags, finding lipsticks and various things. So on a humble level, obviously a lot of it was due to just being around lots of women. But as I got older, I was also very ambitious. The beauty industry at the time was emerging as well, in the 80s. And 90s, and obviously things like acrylic nails came in, and
Oh,
new
yeah.
trends came in, and beauty was very much emerging. And so I had a placement when I was 14, 15, when I had an interest in hair and beauty, and was in a salon. And what really struck my interest and provoked it even further was the fact that I could see that there was a connection and through delivering service. So I'll say women because it was predominantly women that came into the salon, were anything from business women to housewives, but they all came in, and they all had a moment in time for themselves, to invest in their self-care. They were treated very well. They either had their hair done, or they went in for treatments because they just started a beauty room in the clinics at the time as well. And I just felt that it was definitely something that I wanted to be involved in. I wanted to make people feel good. And that was the start of it. Yeah, I wanted to make people feel good, and then it grew arms and legs because by the time I was 16, I did get a place in college to do beauty therapy, City and Guilds level 2 and level 3, which was quite a grueling course back in the day. It was with conviction that you attended each day,
Yeah.
passed all your assignments, your appearance had to be spot on. It was taken very seriously. I loved the anatomy and physiology side of it, health and safety, and then through that, and whilst doing that, I was very entrepreneurial. So I started my own business very early,
Amazing.
and
Amazing.
and built a business that took me to the place that when I was 18, I had my own salon, had my own business, and I loved it. But I also realised that I wanted to explore, and I'm sure you'll appreciate that back in those days we didn't have the internet. So it was the back of the professional beauty magazine used to come in, the letter box, and you'd look at all the jobs on the back, and you'd
I love that.
see placements in some of the most amazing spas in the UK, like Ragdale Hall, Champney spas. But one day this placement came up for a spa in Scotland, and I had to go away and live there if I wanted to take that role on. And that's what happened. And then it just went from there, and that was the birth of my spa industry roles from there.
That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And then, so how long did it take you then from that first, another question I'm throwing in there, to get from your first spa role to where you were at Group Spa Director? Was there a few moves that you made to different spa businesses? Did it take 10, 15? I'm just thinking if I was an aspiring spa manager, what kind of progression, how does that work for you?
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about from, entering the world of spa therapy, to be a spa therapist. I was 19 at the time. It really was, when you look at the timeline, you're looking at 15 plus years, bordering on 20 really, because sandwiched in between me becoming a spa therapist to obviously group spa manager at Aquasana Centre Parks, there was lots of other exciting roles
Right.
that I did. So for example, I first of all went to London and trained with Noella Gabrielle from Elemis, and
Wow.
she was just building her brand with Aroma Spa. It was so exciting to be part of that and have her train me with a
Wow.
cluster of 6 other therapists. I was one of her first spa therapists, and then through that gave me the appetite to want to then explore the whole world. And I thought, hang on, never mind explore the country, but this is exciting, because there's options to go on cruise ships, there's options to go on the airlines. And Richard Branson at the time, he was launching his in-flight beauty therapy program, and so that gave me huge appetite to go and apply to be one of those in-flight beauty therapists, which I became successful in, and travelled the whole world on board the Virgin Atlantic luxurious first-class aircraft, delivered many treatments to the rich and famous. Then, kind of life takes over, you realise you want to come, excuse the pun, ground yourself and settle into your other side of life, where I was at that side of life when I was wanting to have children, and
Yeah.
yeah, obviously personal life takes over, but I'm still passionate as hell about my industry. But then came some amazing roles where I was working in a national account manager role for Ellison's. So they were also on a growth where they were not just a consumable supplier, but they started to have brands, they started to have machinery, they needed somebody to go to colleges and do talks, demonstrate how to work machines, waxing. It was a great role. And then from there, it took me to become a sales emissary, which was a unique role for a brand called Sweet Squared in the UK. They were the first brand to take on CND gel polish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was another pinnacle in my career, where I was part of this, absolute snowball of a machine that changed our manicures and pedicures forever with gel. So that was another 8 years. And then through the delivery of presenting to spa accounts, then came, or very organically, my role into Aquasana Centre Parks. And then that was when it thrived even further, in the awards, and the passion and desire, really shone through. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a
I
journey.
think it's incredible. I think because there's so many people who see spa, and I think, and we'll maybe touch on this in a minute, that they don't know what the career progression is. They don't know what it's going to take them. But just listening to you, then you've done Ellison's, Sweet Squared. You've tried lots of different parts of the industry, and I think that's a really good thing, to be able to have all these experiences, to meet all these different people, and then obviously draw it into what you did at Centre Park. So do you love the most about the industry?
I love it. Well, we've just been discussing it now, that the spa industry is like a pinball machine. You don't have to stay in a certain part of the sector. Just because you become a spa manager doesn't mean you can't come out of operations, you can't go into sales, you can't go into
Yeah.
account management, you can't you know try something completely different. This is now the most exciting time I think we've ever known in our industry. We've now
Yeah.
got aesthetics running through, we've got holistic treatments and services, we've got so much science that we're learning about as well, beyond what we've ever known before. We've got the wellness, there's just so much. And it's really that message about, you don't have to stand still, you don't have to stay where you are, you can keep flourishing. And as long as you have your qualification, you can go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah, that wasn't the answer I was expecting, but that is one of the reasons I like it as well, because you can try different things. You can go land, air, air, sea.
Yeah.
You don't even have to stay in the same country, but they're also really transferable skills as well. Um, I don't hope you don't mind me asking, what was the reason that you decided to leave the operational side of the industry? What drew you to then taking your next step to power and resilience?
Yeah, again, it was quite organic, and a lot of it comes down to life experience. I feel like um, life experience brings an antenna sometimes that you didn't know you had,
Yeah.
and the antenna, when you listen to it, you realise, you start to reflect on what your strengths are, what you enjoy the most. And I've been at a stage of my life where those things are really important to me and should be
Mhm.
important to anyone all through their life, but very poignant at the moment to think about my next chapter and really execute what makes me thrive, what makes me shine, what is my gift to the industry, and how can I channel all of my goodness and experience, as well as being happy in myself. And operations was a great career. I've got lots of friends who are still in operations at various levels, and it was more the fact that I just felt that I'd explored it, and I'd reached a point where I was fulfilled, and I
Yeah.
was happy with what I've achieved. And everything changes in life, nothing ever stays the same. And I'd had the success of winning, 20, I think it was 21 awards within 8 years
Oh
for
my God.
various different art. And yeah, I know. And it's kind of like pinch, pinch, pinch. I'd won the World Spa and Wellness Leader, I'd done the UK Spa Leader, and I'd really punched my weight, and I felt, right, okay, so what is it that you're good at? And it has to be all about the connection with
Mm,
and the influence and with the team, and then through my own learnings, my own journey, I felt very confident that I can give that back. And have had many other spa managers and operators through the years say, how did you win those awards, and how did you become so successful? And now's the time for me to share that with them and help them to develop their people and their leadership, and give that strength as a gift, which I've been doing over the last 18 months with various different spa operators in the UK.
and I think that becomes kind of a point for a lot of the senior spa directors and leaders in the industry, is once you've, like you say, well, I never achieved 21 awards, so I'm definitely not, but when you have achieved so much and you get to a certain point, you do actually think, well, what do I want to do next? And it isn't necessarily another move sideways or to a different brand, is it? It's actually, what can I then give back, and what's your purpose, I guess.
And you put absolutely your purpose and your personal power, because once you tap into that, you can elevate yourself tenfold. But sometimes in certain roles in life, we don't allow the time to listen to that noise or that scratch, and we just stay where we are. But if you do, and you do personal work as well on yourself, and you are ambitious to keep thriving, then it can be quite transformational.
Yeah, I love it. And you're combining that with working at Image as well. So you're doing your resilience and power with them, but also separately. So how's that balance working for you?
It works really well. It works. Cohesive is perfect, if I'm honest, because I'm working with a team of professionals who are really passionate about what they do, and it's a role that I've done in
Yeah.
my career, so I can totally tune into where they are, what workload they have, their priorities, good days, not so good days, but also, most of all, the brand excites me. The brand, the story of Image is actually quite similar to my story. So we've been going around the same time. My journey and their journey is similar time frame, and they've you know, they've had a success and been a few bumps, but they've never stopped innovating. They've never given up. And most importantly, the backbone of everything they do is all about science as well. So they're very resilient. They're a very resilient skincare brand, and they keep coming back and they keep pushing through. They're very, very successful in the US and are really emerging in the UK. So I feel like the story and what they've got to offer really coheses really well. So yeah, with their accounts, I go and visit their accounts as well and help their teams with personal development. And it doesn't invade on my resilience and power either. It just sits alongside. So it works really well.
You're not the only person I've spoken. Like Laura from Oskia has done the same. She does her own work and she works with a brand. I think it's
Yeah.
a really nice way of being able to cover two different parts of the industry. I don't think you have to silo yourself off to one or the other, do you? You can blend the two together. Um,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I'm going to ask this next question following off
Yeah.
Sparfest. What is one, choose one or two of the things that frustrate you about our industry, and how do you think those frustrations could be changed? What should the industry be looking to do? You might not be frustrated, but I
Yeah,
just
well,
wonder.
we were at Sparfest together, and there was a. Well, I know where this is going. There was a topic that came up about training, obviously, and I feel on one side, we are doing our younger generation a disservice because there's a generational gap. Times have changed, and the way we deliver beauty therapy qualifications is very different now. So I feel that we need to invest more time to understand the younger generation a lot more. And when we were talking before about purpose, that's another reason why I've launched my business, is to support them to have their own voice, to be able to speak about what they need as a generation, what they want to explore. That's a frustration that I feel, we're not doing enough of. But then there's the other one, which is clearly a much bigger, conversation, and that is the fact that we do lack funding to support the needs of the younger generation now, because we've got a conflict with what we are asking them to deliver and what we're asking them to learn, but we don't have the right resources in terms of time and support. So I feel like when it comes to the government, we are a multi-billion pound global business, and it's growing, and the stats are there, the growth is there. Why aren't we treated like other
Yeah.
sectors? Why are we pushed aside and not seen and not heard when we've got this great resource to grow, and most importantly, we are making a difference because we are connecting with humans. We are, through the magic of touch, through the magic of conversation, through the magic of making people feel good, and that is surely where that's where we're evolving naturally, but we don't seem to have the support from the government. So that is my frustration, very clearly, as I vocalised at Sparfest.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring it up because I actually really agree with you. And it was interesting hearing your story because you clearly had a passion for beauty and spa at an early age. My concern is that because we now have to provide education for people, children, teenagers till they're 18, that often the females are kind of driven towards the beauty industry, but don't have necessarily that passion. I feel like it's, you don't know what you want to do, or why don't you just do this course? And I
Yeah,
sometimes think, actually, is that a disservice, pushing an industry or a course on someone who perhaps is just doing it to tick a box? And I worry that they're coming out with that and not, like you say, having the right level of training.
absolutely. I think it all comes down to communication, and also as highlighted over the last few days, our industry is currently not being highlighted as, a strong vocation. It's just a secondary. Oh, if you don't succeed with your exams, then just do beauty therapy. And what people really miss is actually the knowledge and the theory that goes behind what beauty therapists and spa wellness therapists deliver, is because the anatomy and physiology side, and you have to understand the 7 systems of the body, and it's it really is dismissed, and that's what frustrates me.
Yeah, you are far more eloquent. That is exactly what I was trying to say a minute ago. You've nailed it much better than I do. And I think also the career progression, I don't think that's made very clear. I think it would be great to have where people say, this is Kay Pennington, look what she did. She's done this and this part of the industry, and actually this is what you can achieve. And taking like 10 or 20 spa leaders or beauty leaders and actually showcasing, you don't just do the course, come off it and go home and do facials in a shed in your garden. There's actually a lot more to it, and there's the business side, the entrepreneurial side, all of that. And I think if that was showcased, like you say, it would really help the industry.
Absolutely. And another thing that I like to be honest about as well is that I never went to university. I don't have any degrees. I obviously got my GCSEs, but they weren't the best. And what I'm trying to say is that it's not all doom and gloom. You can still succeed and have an amazing career, because there's still lots more to learn. And on the pathway, when you do take this road, you don't stop learning. You never stop learning. There's always new science. There's always new ingredients. There's always new, the touch list, the technical, so much to learn, and it's actually more exciting now than ever because we've got all these resources available to us.
Yeah, I mean, I've come back after 5 years and wow, some things have really changed, like the NAD clinics coming in, the touchless wellness, it's an ever learning industry. If you had your time again, or you were talking to someone who was looking to come into the industry or a very early part of their career, what piece of advice would you give them or your younger self?
I will again be honest. I don't have any regrets about anything I've done. I feel I'm very satisfied. However, what perhaps would have made it a little bit more amplified was if I was to actually have had a plan. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan. I didn't actually set my goals. I've only really started to do that in the last 5 years, and that's proven to be a worthwhile task. And so I guess if I was to like go back, I would make that plan and set my goals. Yeah.
That
Especially now with what's available, because then I didn't know what I didn't know, because the industry was a lot more insular then. But now it's just exploded, so you can grab anything. The world is your oyster. So perhaps make a plan would be my advice.
I love it. And now we have the internet too. When you started, you were flicking through the magazine. Now there is so much, isn't
Absolutely.
there?
Yeah, which maybe is overwhelming. I don't know, but it's there's lots of gifts out there.
I love it. I love that piece of advice to begin with. Have a plan.
Have a plan.
Have a plan.
And know your purpose. Ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? And does it make me happy? And they're the 2 questions that will guide you to your future.
Plan, purpose, and does it make you happy? Kay, thank you so much. That is the perfect way to finish our interview, is those 3 words. Thank you so much. I've really appreciated it. Thank you.
You're welcome.